Okay, so what's your job now?
So I work as a software engineer in Newcastle. Yeah.
How long have you been working in this company?
I've been working for this company for almost 2 years now.
Is there many ethnic minority women in your company?
Ethnic minority and women. So, my company is a rather big company. So, I think globally we have 10,000 employees, and in Newcastle, which is our headquarters, has 1,500 employees. Of course, I won't know every single one of them, but as a quick impression, there are not many ethnic minority groups, so non-British people that at the first glance, there are not many of them. In my department, there are around 200 people, and around, I think, less than 5% non-British. And because of the nature of the job is software engineering and more technical side of the job, there are not many women, as you can imagine. So, ethnic minority women, there's only me. In terms of women, they're like maybe 5%, less than 5%. Yeah, so roughly that's like it. Yeah.
So have you been working in other countries before?
In other countries, no, I've only worked full time in UK.
So do you think it's easy to get used the life within Newcastle?
In Newcastle, life, yes, it's all right. Yeah, in general, yeah.
Do you think it's like welcome to international people or like welcome to?
Well, I've worked in London before,
Yeah.
and of course, London is way more international, and in terms of like the workforce population, in Newcastle is mainly British, and not just British but local British, so mostly people from the northeast. So it's not international at all, and it's a very local environment to work, and it's welcoming. They are very friendly, warm people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think it's compared to London, it's more welcome than people in London?
I can't compare that, because in London by nature it's a very international place to work, so it's not welcome. It's like you are part of that. But here you feel like you're kind of an outsider, even though you're welcome. Yeah, because they have their local groups and they have their local culture, and yeah.
Okay. So do you think you can fit in your workplace now?
Fitting.
Yeah.
Fit in, yeah, I've been 2 years already, yes. Yeah.
Do you think it's hard to fit in the workplace?
Like, what do you define by fitting in?
Like, fitting, like, be able to, like, do you feel like you are like a part of the company, or like be more like feel more familiar to like talk with your colleagues, or like
In the first few months, I feel quite hard because, as I said, it's a very local environment. They, like the colleagues, for example, for lunch or for coffee time, they talk about something that I won't be familiar with. For example, they talk about maybe some social events in Newcastle, or they go to the countryside that I've never heard of, and they do something that I won't be aware of. And compared with London, because it's an international city, and you are very much, so everyone is pretty much the same. They move to London from the home country to work, and they are way more open to maybe hang out with you, or maybe make new friends, and and hang out with new friends. But here they have their own social group and family, so you feel a bit less integrated. In yeah.
so have you been experiencing some stereotypes?
I would say I would say, for example, the colleagues that I work closely with, they would ask me questions about my culture, which is Chinese, and they would. I mean, you can say that you can tell that they're curious. They want to. They have some so-called stereotypical questions about China or Chinese culture. For example, when I have my own collection of like Chinese herbal tea on my desk, then they will ask, oh, what's this? For example, goji berries. Yeah. They will ask, oh, what this is? Like, what is it good for? Do you drink it all the time or whatever? Or sometimes I will ask how do I do with my cooking, or my like daily, maybe any kind of habits, or like how I do my like household work, or how I manage my money, or for example, does my parents support my education, for example. So I think they are interested in my culture, and they have some questions, or they have some impression, so-called stereotypical impression about, for example, they believe that most Chinese parents support their children's education, for example. Then they would want to confirm that with me. Yeah.
So do you think it brings you an inconvenience?
Inconvenience? I would say, I think like sometimes, for example, like going back to the example of I have some herbal teas like on my desk, then they would feel like it's quite a weird thing to do, to have like to drink certain kind of tea, like for example goji berries or dates, or the red dates, for example. They feel like it's quite a strange thing to do, because for them tea is the British tea. They only drink hot drinks as tea, coffee, and that's it. But we drink way more, loads of different types of teas, and and that would be, they would just ask these questions like, oh, what is that, or like that looks funny, or that smell weird, and this tea smells terrible, why would you drink that, for example. It's as a harmless kind of joke, but at the same time it will feel quite annoyed if they keep asking that, or challenge you that tea looks weird, why would you drink that? So
have you been experiencing some stereotypes from the gender perspective?
Gender,
because you are like few female in
I would say not from work per se, but in general, people have some, very few people have that, very few male, right, colleagues or like people from my industry would have that impression that I got the job because I'm a female, because of all those diversity agenda that the industry and the companies, they want to kind of like boost the proportion of female in their workforce, and as like almost like a token. So I'm just a token in the team, because they need someone who represents them, like the ethnic minority or the to bring more diversity in the team. And so but that is I would say not the mainstream opinion, and I don't face that criticism every day, but I did hear that kind of not really gossip, but they do have those beliefs.
So like it's like from the other words, they don't think you are qualified enough to get this job, or like it's because you are ethnic.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, So what's your feeling or experience in Newcastle?
Can you be more specific?
Feeling, I think I just asked this question. Yeah, just one.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any equal pay in your workplace?
Equal pay. First thing is it's not disclosed, so like I won't know how other people are paid.
Yeah.
So that's hard to comment on. Yeah, because like I don't think not many companies could disclose like the pay level, especially like between gender. And, yeah,
But so do you like your company will have like annual report about pay, so you can know like what's the average?
I don't think they have.
Yeah.
At least not something that I'm aware of. I would say maybe in terms of like the industry, like for example, Stack Overflow, they have this annual like survey among developers. Like one of the questions is about pay, and the female engineers pay less, even in the same rank or same like level of experience.
Yeah.
By how many? Like you should look it up, like the Stack Overflow annual reports. By how many percent I forget. Yeah, but yeah, you can check it out. Yeah.
Okay. So like because I've heard some other people like which working in other companies, they have like some kind of wage system. Like everyone, if you have the same level, they will get the same pay. So it's different in your company.
Well, because as I said, it's not disclosed.
Yeah.
So in my company, I think they have a rather like very structured, like level. I don't know how to describe. Like it's very it's almost like by rank. So we have very clear rank. So from like for engineers, associate engineers, then senior engineers,
Yeah.
then maybe team leader or like principal engineer. So the same rank, then roughly you have the same kind of pay.
Yes.
But of course every year you get like pay rise like based on your performance and stuff like that by a few percent. Yeah. So I think that is something that is preventing that. Because you're female, so you won't get like pay as your male colleague even when you're same rank. I think they determine your pay just based on the rank.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So do you think your company should report report the pay wage, or like have annual report pay annual pay report to let you know like about?
well,
This
no,
kind of
transparency is always good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, but if they are transparent about that, but then if there's anything not right, like after disclosing the report, if they're not going to do anything about it, then I would rather not know. Like, if you know what I mean, yeah. If from the report clearly there's a pay gap,
Yeah.
but then if they're not going to do anything about it,
Yeah.
they're not going to adjust, then like.
But if they don't have the annual report, then you are not gonna even know about it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
But action is more important than, just disclosing the information. Yeah.
So what do you think your company should do in terms of?
Well, the thing is, at the moment, I don't know if there's the pay gap.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I don't believe that there's a pay gap, and or at least I don't believe that there's a big pay gap,
Yeah.
a significant pay gap. So I'm fine with the current situation. Yeah.
Okay. To next part, do you have like development training in your company?
Yes, but yes.
Yes. How do you think about it?
It's I think sometimes the development training are more for the general audience and not specific to my job role or job nature. So that's like company level training. But then on the department level, so the company level training, I think, is a little bit too general sometimes. It's not very helpful. And for the department level training, because we have quite flexible training scheme that you basically they allow you each year maybe take 5 days off if you need to for training. For example, those training can be you are given allowance to go to tech conferences or some training courses. If you want to do, you can apply for the budget and the time to do it, or some kind of professional exams. So that way you are not given some compulsory training. You choose your own training, which is good. It's more flexible, and you choose what you believe that is most beneficial to you. But of course that depends on if the department approve. Usually will approve, but those training has to be somewhat related to your work.
Okay. So do you think you have the same training opportunity compared to others?
Same, I would say yes, because it's like a department policy that you are allowed those few days, so it's totally equal.
Yeah. So do you think you have the same progression opportunity compared to others?
I believe I have. Yeah. So it's because progression is based on your experience and your level of expertise. So yes, and they do have very transparent guidelines of how much or what you achieve, so that you can be progressed to the next level. And each rank what kind of responsibility or what kind of expertise you have to be you can kind of be like level like on that rank. So yeah, I think that in that sense it's quite transparent.
So how many people do you think, like in terms of leader, do you think there's more British, or there's more British women or British men, or like non-British women?
Like unfortunately in my department, because as I said, because of the nature of the job, most of them are male. I mean, regardless rank.
Yes.
So and then because of the location, because it's Newcastle, regardless of rank, they're mostly local. So because it's not like we have like 50% female, 50% male, then we can like see, okay, are those higher level positions occupied by men only? Because the whole department is not occupied by men in any sense. So I can't say that. Of course, like objectively, there are many. I mean, most of the higher rank positions are men, or I can say actually all of them, but only 5% female in my department. So you can't say that the male dominated the higher rank position, because the male dominated the whole department. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So is the progression opportunity like determined by your supervisor or like leader or something?
Yes.
So
for progression, we need when you feel that you're ready, you feel you're confident, then you write up some document, and there's a certain kind of forms that you need to write up something to kind of describe what you have done, like what you think you have grown into, and then you apply, and then you send those documents to your leader. Then he or she will kind of like evaluate, and then they will have meeting with you, they discuss further, and then they will kind of like come up with a report and then send it to like a higher level boss, the manager, then he will determine will there be a next meeting or your application will be rejected. Yeah.
Okay. So do you know anyone who's like come to the company at the same time as you, but they've got like progression, but you didn't?
Well, I'm still rather new, so I am still one of the newer employees in the department, so I can't say that I can't.
All
I don't
right.
have a comment on that. No.
I see.
Yeah.
So do you think there's any improvement the company could do with the progression opportunity, or because you already think you have the same progression? So do you think there's still some improvement they can do? Or not?
I would say maybe they can, because now it relies on the employees to kind of like proactively apply for that,
Yeah.
and and then the employees, if they wish to progress, they need to have get their own opportunities. So they maybe they demonstrate more work, or maybe they kind of volunteer for some more like challenging opportunities, for example. So those are quite those things they can all be done, but they are not very structured. They are not very transparent. So you need to find your way out, basically. I mean, which is fine, but at the same time, if the company can maybe provide more help to maybe kind of list out certain things that can be done to improve your chance to get promoted, then and then offer more of those opportunities and actively encourage people to get those opportunities, or like if they need help to get those opportunities, or then what they can do, like maybe a little bit more like a roadmap that okay, this month if you do this thing, next month you do that thing, then
So they can be more clear about like how you can get.
yes, yeah. But at the same time, I can't expect the company to almost like design like what you need to do, because everything you do need to be proactive to get the opportunities, because that's how you like, because no company would kind of spoon feed what you should do. Yeah. So yeah. But if there's a little bit more like clear guidelines and they encourage people more, then that will be better. Yeah.
Do you think your company should have like leadership training program like this kind of thing?
Yeah, they do have a company level leadership training program.
Yeah.
Not really a program, but like maybe like a half day or like a workshop or something.
Yeah.
But as I said, because it's a company level like the offering, so it's a very general. I mean, which they try to apply it to every single one, but technical side of, technical roles and business roles are very different, and as a technical leader or as a business leader, it's very different. So I found those material not as helpful, applicable to the daily job. Yeah.
So do you think the interaction of race and gender influence your career?
Can you be more specific?
Yeah, so like, because you are like intersection of race and gender, so do you think it can influence your maybe like career opportunity, or like influence your behavior in the workplace? Just like as an ethnic minority woman, do you think you face more challenge than others?
Well, it's a mix of everything. So, first thing is you need, if I kind of like break it down, first thing, you're a woman in industry, there are not many women, so Stack Overflow like this year published that you should really check that out. Like that's a good report. So I think only 7% versus 93% like female and male. And then in my department, that of course there are not many. And you feel that you're not insiders. You're not almost like your sense of belonging is not very high. You feel that you are not in the boys' club because boys they like talking about cars or like certain films or certain games or certain activities that they like. Then if you have no knowledge of those things or you have no interest in those things, then you can't build up certain kind of like social bonding with them, and almost like you feel isolated at work. That's one thing. Second thing, as an ethnic minority, coming here as a non-local, then of course because you're non-local, then you feel that you're isolated, and at the same time because you're not British, then there's lots of like cultural things that you have to adjust to. Even though I've been living in UK for a few years already, but I've always been living in more international city, and Newcastle is a way more local city. They have their own Geordie culture, and so you feel that again you're outsider. So you need to learn how to chat with them casually. You need to pick up what they're interested in. Like they're interested in like gardening, or like weekends they like going to, I don't know, like maybe a beer garden or like a vodka or whatever. So you need to pick up what they're interested in and have those kind of small talk with them. Yeah, because because you can't just be silent in like a coffee break time. And those are almost like skills that you need to pick up in order to have small talk with someone that you have absolutely no connection with, and you share very few things in common with. So
like even in the workplace, if do you think someone's opinion influence your behavior? Like if they think you are not qualified enough, do you think it will influence your confidence or like influence?
No, certainly.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes they will make like seemingly unharmful jokes about my ability as not being adequate, which will make you feel uncomfortable and offended. But at the same time, because I come from a non-technical background of education, so I do myself feel very confident in my own skills and ability. So because I don't think they're saying something wrong. So even though I feel offended or upset, I won't challenge them as much. But that has nothing to do with my gender, because I would say because that's based on my education background. So
have you been experienced any discrimination or something make you uncomfortable in the workplace?
I can only say no one would like discriminate me based on my ethnicity. No one would ever do that unless at least not on the surface.
Yes.
And I can only say there are certain kind of like microaggression that I had. For example, sometimes they will try to explain something that I already know about, for example, maybe Christmas, or maybe like British, like local, like I don't know, like I don't have a specific example for now. Or maybe for example, they think they know London better than me, but I actually live there. They never lived there, for example.
Yeah.
So and then so I would say they try to be welcoming, or they try to integrate you, but at the same time based on some assumptions that I could be actually more British than they do. I have 2 British degrees, for example. I could be, on some level I could be more like, British, like I in terms of how to define British. So sometimes they try to explain something that is very obvious already, that on the surface they try to look, or they try to be friendly, and they try to include you, but you feel like because this is not your first day in the country, so so you feel offended in a strange way.
Is there any bad influence of that
On
this kind of annoying things?
the influence on
Yourself?
myself,
Yeah. Or your attitude to them? Or your feeling in the workplace as well?
Well, like as I said, the term is microaggression. So it's micro. So it's not something that could trigger you in a dramatic way, but it's something that will kind of accumulate inside you, and you do need to. It's almost like some kind of like mental training that you're going through to protect yourself from being upset and angry. That you need to constantly remind yourself that it's just work, and don't take things personally, and you do need to put yourself into perspective that they are very local, and they won't. There are certain things that they won't be aware of, and then that's beyond their capacity because of their background and their upbringing. So it's almost like very different mental wavelength, that you are in a different wavelength than them. Then you try So I would not try to explain certain things to them, because that's out of their. You can almost be certain that it's out of their reach.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think the company could do in terms of this kind of situation? Because there might be some other people think, it's quite like make them really harmful, like it's like really offended to them. So.
Well.
So do you think they could have like diversity training, something like that, or diversity workshop, or?
When a diversity workshop is organized by not a diverse workforce, it's just, they try to do it. They do have like training for managers to emphasize how important it is and how to be better at that. And they do have, for example, they have like a award for diversity and inclusion award or whatever, to try to promote the idea. But at the same time, the workforce itself is far from diverse. So it's just it's almost like a bunch of rich people try to promote how important it is to educate poor kids. And I don't know how to describe that feeling, but it will never be enough. And
so what do you think might help? Like, do you think your company should increase the diversity in your company, or equality in your company, or you think it's quite good now?
Well, it's always good to be, always good to be more inclusive and increase the diversity, but at the same time, if it's a deliberate effort and if it's pushed too much, then it's bringing up that issue of like tokenism, like because you're female, so I employ you because we need to be more diverse, and I would absolutely hate that because I don't want to be recruited just because I'm female. So I like saying that they should be more diverse. I mean, they should be. I mean, they could be more aware of that, but I would not think that it's a good idea to be more proactive into recruiting more diverse employees as a very deliberate effort. Yeah.
Yeah.